Another day, another chapter in the Regressive Handbook. This one goes out to all you Muslim-hating bigots out there. Yeah. So yeah, today we have The Hate Economy from Fusion's Democracy Handbook series. In this episode, we are joined by Bassem Youssef, our now seasoned guide to the wacky world of America, and he's taking us to the Sunshine State. Of course, Florida has long been known for its miles of white sand beaches, oranges, and of course, racial and cultural tolerance. Let's take a trip down south and see what Bassem can dredge up.
In the Middle East, hate destroys everything. Countries, cities, families.
Bassem, we get it. Middle East, bad. America, bad. Why don't you just move someplace else? You're a cardiothoracic surgeon qualified to perform heart and lung transplants. You ought to have your pick of the litter when it comes to choosing which country you're going to reside in. Why would you stick around the US and take shots at the country that you obviously felt was such a big upgrade from living in Egypt?
But here, it seems you found a constructive use for your hate: making money.
While I'm pretty sure that Bassem is saying this to tally up a negative aspect of America, I'd much prefer the Christian shop owner down the street refusing to serve me because I'm an atheist, rather than the government or religious individuals hunting me down to either imprison or execute me. Again, just my opinion, but I'm starting to get the impression that a lot of people in the world share my viewpoint.
Hate is the new niche industry, and it's growing.
Gee, I wonder if the influx of immigrants from far less tolerant nations has had anything to do with the amount of hatred and cultural animosity in America. Sure, there's always been racial tensions, no one's denying that. But considering that racial relations are the worst they've ever been, and without settling those issues, the government is opting to import tens of thousands of immigrants from Middle Eastern nations where the laws and cultural practices are the complete opposites of the laws and practices here, I just can't bring myself to think that this strategy has done anything but make issues worse.
Whether it's refusal to make cakes for gay weddings,
First Amendment, Constitution, I should not be compelled to make a wedding cake for a same-sex marriage.
Yeah, you leftists just love to harp on that one bakery that refused to cater the gay wedding. We get it, you don't like Christian religious beliefs. Why do I say you have a particularly adversarial tone when it comes to Christians? Well, that would be because when Muslim proprietors don't want to be involved in same-sex nuptials, you just look the other way. And in the event that you just don't believe me, here's a clip from Stephen Crowder's Louder with Crowder, where they put this all to the test.
Speaking of Islam's hatred of gay people, what do you think would happen if we went into a Muslim bakery and asked for a gay wedding cake? No need to wonder, we did it for you. What's really important is getting the picture and the writing. So it's going to be me and Benny. Well, you have pictures there.
No, on the machine you have in Kroger kitchen.
In Kroger?
Yeah,
Like the grocery store?
no.
You would tell me to go somewhere across the street. And I wanted to say Ben and Stephen forever on the top. And then on the bottom it'll say same-sex, legal now, congratulations. But everyone keeps sending me somewhere else. They said this is what you do here.
No, I don't want it.
Oh, I don't. Okay, well, let's even say no picture, but you can write on it, Ben loves
Yeah,
Stephen
yeah,
forever,
yeah.
and have our hands
Yeah,
maybe holding.
no.
But we want at least the writing, you know. So, you know, groom and groom.
Yeah.
There's two grooms.
Wedding?
Yeah, a wedding.
What is the wedding?
Wedding is for two people getting married. But just the writing, you don't need the machine. You can do the writing. Ben loves Stephen forever.
Yeah, you can
Groom and groom.
Yeah,
You can do that.
no, this one no.
Only all of these places did do custom wedding cakes. That's their business. It's kind of what they do.
Oh, and even though I really shouldn't need to bring it up, there was also this guy, who, acting on his beliefs and carrying out the punishment put forth in the Quran for homosexuality, shot up the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, killing 49 gay patrons and wounding another 51. But yeah, it's Christians that have the most substantial issue with gays. Sure it is.
Controlling reproductive rights.
The High Court striking down a key provision in the Affordable Care Act that requires for-profit companies to provide comprehensive birth control coverage.
So a privately owned company who simply doesn't agree with contraception doesn't want to pay for its employees' birth control. Mind you, these employees can apply to work someplace else if they're not getting what they want. But in any case, they don't want to pay for the birth control, and therefore, somehow, by Democrat standards, they've now become necessarily a hateful organization. I'm going to tell you something that my parents told me when I was growing up, and still tell me to this day if they catch me saying that I hate something or someone. Hate is a very strong word, and it is not something that should be used lightly. Now, hatred is not something that is fleeting or novel, but rather something that is deep-rooted and that translates into horrible behavior. I'm sorry, but I just can't agree with your claims that a business preferring not to cater to the requests of a specific individual regarding a non-essential good or service is hateful. Nor can I agree with you that a business refusing to spend money on something that they are ideologically opposed to, and which is also not a necessity for their employees, constitutes hate either. If one bakery says they don't want to serve you, then take your money to one that will. If your employer refusing to pay for your birth control is so egregious that you just can't stand to work there anymore, then dust off that resume and just get out job hunting. These things are well within your rights and don't require you forcing someone else to bend to your will. You don't need to impose on their liberty in order to live your life.
Or your favorite, fat shaming.
Cassie Smith works as a Hooters girl, and her managers recently told her they had an issue with her weight.
They said that if in 30 days I improved my short and tank top size fitting, they would leave me alone.
You signed up for a job at Hooters. Unless you've undergone a lobotomy recently, how the hell can you tell me that you didn't understand that maintaining a specific aesthetic was part of the job? Sweetheart, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but those guys coming in and tipping you so well, yeah, they aren't doing it because they love the wings. If they wanted wings, there are a million other restaurants that serve them. No, the people who go to Hooters are, by a large majority, there for the beautiful waiting staff who have squeezed themselves into tight white tank tops and day-glow orange booty shorts. Seriously though, did I miss something? What the fuck has the world come to that not even Hooters can hold a certain standard of appearance for working there? Like, sure, I've seen some Tuesday afternoon grade Hooters girls, but that's up here in Kazakhstan, where hurting someone's feelings can mean doing a bit of 25 to life. But in America? Home of the bottle blonde bombshell and fake boobs? Get real.
Hating gays, hating women, hating large folk. Come on. I know there is plenty of people in this country who hate Arabs and Muslims.
And I know there are plenty of Arabs and Muslims who hate women, gays, people of other faiths, and Americans. What's your point? Actually, when I think of how the majority of Arabs and Muslims treat women, gays, and people of other faiths, the way that most Americans conduct themselves regarding these groups is tame, even kind. You know, considering all those laws regarding equality that they voted for and whatnot.
Somebody must be making money off of hating me.
Well, not you in particular, though I'm hoping these videos might net me a pretty penny or two down the road. Wouldn't call it hate, but I'm sure you could bend your definitions enough to make it count. Either way, capitalism works on the basis of supply and demand, so yeah, if there are enough people who dislike Arabs and Muslims, then there's probably going to be people who figure out how to profit off of that animosity while remaining within the confines of the law. And to that, all I can say to you is, tough shit, deal with it. Yeah, as I mentioned in the introduction, Bassam's taking us on a road trip to Florida because that's where the most tolerant people in all of America live. Not to stereotype Florida too harshly, but sorry guys, as far as states go, you're a bit of a dick.
Meet Andy Hallinan, A simple guy with an even simpler dream.
I am just a high school dropout from Massachusetts. I ran the business out of my spare bedroom and my kitchen table for 3 years. I sold my Harley Davidson and I paid the first month's rent on this building.
Okay, so from what I can tell, you've got somebody here who's basically living as close to the American dream as possible. He's living in the Sunshine State, has a wife and a couple of kids, he enjoys fishing, owns at least one gun, and he's busted his ass without so much as a college degree to start up a business in order to make a far better life for his family and himself. What an asshole, right?
But his baby, Florida Gun Supply, is no regular gun store.
What, like Transformers? More than meets the eye? What's the catch here, Bassam? Where does this white picket fence story jump the rails into a train wreck of hatred and bigotry?
You know, Florida Gun Supply is a mission, and the message that we have is greater than just, hey, come buy a gun and come give us money for your training. One morning I woke up, something just snapped in my soul, and I have been on a crusade ever since.
Damn it, I think Bassam's actually managed to hook a live one here. Anytime someone busts out the C word...
Cock.
No, Bearing, that C word's fine. Might trigger a feminist or two, but I guess that's all just part of the fun.
Cockhead.
No, Bearing. Cockhead's fine. You're just expanding on cock. Come on, you big furry bastard, get your shit together.
Cunt.
No, Bearing, not cunt either. It's a perfectly fine word. Man, you're really starting to slip, bud. No, what I mean is, whenever someone says they're going on a crusade, shit tends to hit the fan awful quick. Especially when you mix the word crusade in with equal parts Christians and Muslims. Doesn't exactly have the better part of history backing it up.
Yeah. And I developed the notion that Islam is evil.
Well, slap my ass and call me Shirley. This guy might be ridiculously bigoted, but at least he's got the right starting point. Pity he seems to have gone off the rails somewhere, but so long as he's not going around shooting up mosques or hookah parlors and in general keeps things between the buoys in regards to Johnny Law, I think I can still salvage something from him.
In order to stay protected against evil, we need to basically be armed up just the way that evil is and make sure that we can protect our communities, whatever threat may come.
Okay, sounds like some veiled language for I don't like them sand niggas coming around my neighborhood. But still, just because this guy wants to play things fast and loose with how he refers to the threat posed by the militarized nature of Muhammad's teachings and the violent punishments laid out in the Quran, it doesn't mean he's necessarily wrong. He's just taking a stricter stance on these things than most people would, than most reasonable people would. Still, protecting your family and the community, not the worst goals in the world. I guess it's all about how you go after the goal that matters.
We hand select our customers to make sure that we are only serving people that we can hand a gun to, loaded, and feel that we're safe.
On its own, not a bad idea. A gun store only selling firearms to people that the sales staff feel are safe, responsible gun ownership prospects. Isn't that the kind of common sense that Democrats have been campaigning about in terms of gun control? Only letting people who are safety-minded and responsible purchase firearms?
I declared Florida Gun Supply a Muslim-free zone as a direct response to political correctness.
I'm Andy with Florida Gun Supply, and if you want to make your home safe from ISIS, all you need is one of our Muslim-free zone signs.
God damn it, I'm really hoping they were aiming for satire, but whether they were trying to be serious or shooting for satire, they missed on that one. First point, thing-free zones don't typically prevent those things from being brought into those zones. That's essentially the entire argument behind allowing concealed carry on college campuses, because gun-free zones only disarm the law-abiding and provide criminals with a relatively defenseless target pool. So equate Muslim-free with gun-free and try again. Point 2, if you were aiming for satire, you're going to want to blow it out of proportion a little more. Stephen Colbert was fantastic in how he used to, use an overly right-leaning persona to criticize the American far right when it came to political satire. I suppose this could all be collateral damage from Fusion's previously displayed penchant for selective editing, but from the way you were speaking in that video clip, dude, your comic delivery needs work.
So what's the best thing about being Muslim-free?
We sold a bunch of really great stuff. For instance, we came up with our bumper stickers. It says, warning, this car is a MFZ. Now, we didn't necessarily want to spell out Muslim-free zone because that would be car bomb territory, right?
That would be the only reason, yeah.
Even though the vast majority of my being is just hoping that this guy's not legitimately as much of a bigot as he seems, and that he's just doing this to cash in on animosity towards Muslims and Middle Eastern people in general, I think he's legit. Though not spelling out Muslim-free zone in its entirety shows a certain degree of reservation that doesn't fit with how he seems to have been running everything thus far. I don't know. Might be a Poe, might not be a Poe. Who's to know?
We produced our ISIS hunting permits. It says no tagging required, no bagging limit.
That's so funny.
We worked with a company to create the Mohammed targets. Realistic-looking jihadis, but we taped the San Bernardino shooters' faces on them, and they started selling even better.
Mohammed target for $3, Mohammed with crotch shot.
For $5, yeah.
First up, the ISIS hunting permit. That's just golden. At no point should anyone have anything at all to say against taking out members of the Islamic State's militant forces. ISIS is one of the most disgusting groups on the face of the earth right now, if not the most disgusting. Next to people who put ketchup on their Kraft dinner, but let's put them aside for a second. And the world would be better off without ISIS. So, an ISIS hunting permit? No issues there. The San Bernardino shooter targets? I've seen worse. Those two shot up a work party, something they'd done a significant amount of prior planning for. I've seen way worse in the realm of shooting range targets like Trayvon Martin hoodie targets, and even targets that show pregnant women, senior citizens, and young kids holding firearms towards the shooter, and they list them as unconventional threat targets. So, yeah, when you've seen that kind of shit, some targets representing a husband and wife who brutally murdered a bunch of people in the name of a religious ideology, yeah, barely rustles the old jimmies. I'll concede that it's a matter of taste and that most people would find it distasteful. By comparison to the mass murder committed by the subjects, it's not really that bad.
Let's face it, hate sells. Muslim-free gun stores are a great start, but the possibilities for new discriminatory business ventures are endless.
I'm sure they are. The question is, how profitable are these marketing opportunities? That's the real kicker here.
What about Jew-free pet stores?
Well, considering that although there's plenty of anti-Semitic trolling that goes on, and quite a few people harbor anti-Semitic sentiments, the Jews as a people just aren't positioned in the right place on the abused versus abuser scale to have any real animosity directed at them, or at least not enough to make a business that seeks to exclude them into a profitable venture.
Hindu-free vape lounges, even...
Yeah, I'm gonna resist the urge to just go off on vaping in general and stick to your point here, Bassam. This Muslim-free gun store cropped up in response to how many Muslims have killed people over the last 20 years in the name of their religion. When was the last time you heard about a Hindu terrorist cell shooting up concert halls, beheading captives, and blowing up airports?
Christian Scientist, free Christian Science reading rooms.
See my response regarding Hindu terrorist cells. Yeah, I suppose in some backwards African nations there are hateful Christian Africans killing non-Christian Africans, but that's not an issue that we see in the developed world, and they're not poised to take their hatred on an international tour. ISIS has successfully attacked targets around the world through the spread of their propaganda, and it's having quite the negative impact on Islam's PR, if you hadn't noticed.
What is that? Can I?
Yeah, this is the Peacemaker JFM-15. JFM stands for Jihadi Fighting Machine. It comes pre-lubed in 13% pig fat gun oil so that certain people can't pick it up.
You see, here's his major design screw-up. Just because the internals are lubricated with 13% pig fat gun oil, it doesn't mean that someone who's a Muslim can't pick up the gun as a whole unit. They'd just, depending on their commitment to Islam, be unable to strip the gun down and do internal maintenance without some form of gloves on. But even then, they can still handle it, and then change out the gun oil if it bothered them. Either way, I'm just arguing minutiae here. I think we can all agree that, while not breaking any laws, this gun owner's a grade A dick.
This gun is built to be a fighting gun. At the end of the day, it's got these points here. You can put it into a door jam and fire through the door. It comes with a free Infidel t-shirt and the Liberal Tears gun oil as well.
I actually love the whole Liberal Tears gun oil thing. Just Something about the beauty of its marketing strikes a chord with me. It's not an anti-Muslim thing, but rather an anti-ignorant politician / ignorant voter thing that gives gun owners a chuckle and really doesn't hurt anyone in doing so.
We also got together with one of the best brownie makers in Florida. We created Muslim-free brownies that have real bacon in them.
So what happens if one of the people that are unwanted, Muslim people, come inside the shop?
Well, of course, the only correct response is to shoot first, shoot some more, and if anyone's left alive, try to ask a question or two. Right? On the more important topic of bacon brownies, though, I'm not sure how well that'd work out, but bacon's never steered me wrong before. Might have to get in touch with this guy's brownie maker and try to get the recipe. Shit, now I'm hungry. Fucking hell, Bassam.
I'm not going to stand up here and ask every person that comes through my door what their religious background is. I don't care. It's easy enough to just say, hey, do you eat pulled pork? But, it's a way to make sure that, they don't feel comfortable here.
Okay. Horrible marketing move there. Remember, it's not about making a particular group feel uncomfortable, but rather making a select group feel like they're the only ones who can browse a certain shop. The tactic is called exclusivity, and although you're technically using it, you're not employing it in quite the best way. If you say, it's about making sure that my clientele can feel safe and comfortable while making a purchase or putting in some time on the training range, it's a lot harder to demonize you by quote mining than it is when you say it's about making sure a certain group doesn't feel comfortable in your store. Quick case study, Abercrombie & Fitch. A little while back, the company's CEO got himself into hot water with remarks that basically said he didn't want fat and ugly people wearing his brand. Now, this triggered the almighty fuck out of feminists, SJWs, and the like, which normally I'd get a cheap laugh from. But he could have accomplished the exact same thing in a more subtle way by saying simply that Abercrombie & Fitch has been designed for an exclusive customer base, and to ensure that their customers know that they're special to the company, the sizing is kept within a certain range to build and maintain a relationship. Enough marketing mumbo-jumbo though, let's get back to the video.
You should have like a complaint box for Muslims, and you make it very small. That would be funny. Or it could be like a big complaint box and it's a trash can.
That's a great idea.
That's a good idea.
Or have a mousetrap on top, Muslim complaint box.
So it's take on the whole take a number, grenade pin, complaint department gag. Not original, Bassam, but still worth a chuckle. I like the addition of the mousetrap in this little brainstorming session, but I think then you risk liability for injury. Better to just make a Muslim complaint form toilet paper roll and run with that. No, seriously, dude. I'm betting you could sell that shit. Get it? Sell that shit. Toilet paper. Fine. Fuck you and your senses of humor.
That's good.
But Andy's Muslim-free journey was almost stopped before it even started.
After we declared ourselves a Muslim-free gun store, the Council for American Islamic Relations filed a federal lawsuit claiming discrimination.
Well, of course you were sued for discrimination. You were discriminating after all. Now, I do think that you should have the right to serve whomever you please and to deny service based on whichever grounds you feel are valid. Absolutely. Personally, if I just don't like the vibe of someone, I won't rent gear out to them because through my business, sometimes you just need to go with your gut. Has this created major problems? Not really. It's actually kept me from having to deal with equipment loss. Hell, I've even had people who've lost or damaged items and then turned around and replaced them with something equivalent or better than what I rented to them. Sometimes being a solid judge of character can pay off better than getting ID and signatures. I say sometimes. Please don't mistake that statement for something that I'd apply to gun ownership. That shit needs a judge of character and proper documentation. But yeah, if he wants to say, you can't shop here, then get the fuck out, it's his store. The flip side of that is that people can look at his policy and decide that they'd rather not shop there. It's just another wonderful way that the free market takes care of itself.
And they cited a 1964 Civil Rights Act that says that places of public accommodation cannot discriminate.
Yeah, so they dug up an old law, but it appears they didn't read it because even I can see that retail stores are exempt from this law unless they primarily serve food and drink. just from this little overview here.
But then, something amazing happened.
Now, the Civil Rights Act very clearly does not say retail store, training academy, gun store, anything of that nature.
And he's right. As I've said, it actually specifically names retail stores as being exempt from it. So it's not as nebulous as, well, it doesn't seem to mention them, so we're gonna have to lean in this direction. It actually brings up retail stores and makes the clear distinction that they are only affected by the law if their primary products are food and drink.
So a judge that was appointed by President Obama took a look at the lawsuit, and I'm sure she gritted her teeth, but she made the right decision. She kicked the lawsuit out.
As long as you can sleep and eat?
Or entertain.
Oh, so movies?
Movies, yep.
So Muslims can go in and watch Star Wars?
Not that I could see too many devout Muslims wanting to go see a movie that brings up the concepts of other higher powers than Allah, or that has a strong female lead who doesn't cover her head. But yeah, movie theaters shouldn't be an issue. Good move bringing up Star Wars though, Bassem. Your assimilation video must have really flipped a switch in your brain because you're starting to nail the pop culture references.
Yeah. And with a suicide vest if they want.
I mean, you know how many ideas they can get from that?
But a retail store has the expressed authority to put whatever sign on their door that they want.
Now, to be honest, I'm not sure why there exists such an exemption for retail stores in this law, though I find the law in itself to be restrictive, as I'd prefer a free market system where the business owner was minimally impeded by government intervention. I'm just curious about the retail store loophole here. If I had to hazard a guess, I would say that it has something to do with the concept of necessities, like how a place of shelter or sustenance would be required to serve all patron whose money was good, because human beings have certain basic needs. But then you have to consider the entertaining thing. My only thought there would be that most movie theaters make so much money off of concessions, more so than they make off box office revenues in some cases. So that might make the case for theaters and places of entertainment. But I just don't know. Interesting to think about, though.
Have any other Muslims tried to sneak in?
Not that I've known. I mean, we may have served a Muslim. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, you know, I don't know who is and who isn't. If they make us nervous for any reason.
Like, we're okay, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I don't think you don't want to be that film, do you? Yeah.
So I'm not sure why this guy's got a bodyguard, but I'd sure like to know the reason behind it. I know that other individuals who have spoken out against Islam have had fatwas put on their head by religious officials within Islam, like Stephen Crowder and Salman Rushdie, so maybe he's received threats due to the nature of his business, but I just don't know. Actually, it occurs to me that someone who runs a gun shop and training academy ought to be able to handle themselves in a shootout. So again, the whole bodyguard mystery becomes that much more confusing. To stay more on point with what Bassem's said and done so far, though, I'm not sure if I've ever heard Bassem proclaim what his faith is. All I know is that he's from Egypt and that he takes a certain pride in being an Arab, and that he hosts a shitty leftist propaganda show masquerading as a satirical comedy series. Beyond that, no idea, but given the smirk he had in that little segment, I'd be willing to bet he's a Muslim and that he's getting quite a kick out of all this.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you coming by.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
All right, well, good luck with everything.
Thank
Be
you.
safe.
Thanks so much.
Is that guy a Muslim? I just set myself up.
Yeah, see, this is what makes me think that it's all been just a big old chuckle for Bassem, who, if a Muslim, is a very selectively practicing one, and would probably not be well received by the Muslim scholars and religious authorities in the higher standings. They tend not to be so fond of Muslims who dilute their faith by selectively choosing which parts of the Quran to follow and which to ignore. I guess Bassem treats his religion the same way that he treats interviews on his show in the editing room.
Here's a lesson, my friend. If you're going to be a professional bigot, at least be able to recognize who you're supposed to hate.
I suppose that's not terrible advice, speaking relatively, of course. It's one more thing that kind of leads me to believe that Andy's just done this whole anti-Muslim thing as a gag. A bit of shtick that he figures he can use to turn a profit and provide for his family. Personally, I don't think Bassem is outside of the norm of what someone might see as a typical Arab or Middle Eastern individual's appearance, so for Andy to let him come in and do the whole interview seems a little, I don't know, off.
Because, if you must know, Bassem Youssef is a totally observant, radical, extremist, fundamentalist, militant vegetarian.
that's actually kind of funny, as I haven't seen anything in the series thus far to indicate as much. Again, we hit the whole satire issue, where he's likely just overinflating the issue, but if he's a hardline vegetarian, you'd think that it would show up in one of the episodes of the Democracy Handbook. Maybe I'm overthinking things here. Oh well.
But if I wasn't, oh, bacon brownies sound delicious.
Okay, so wrap-up time. Time to put this all in a neat little bow for everyone who just skipped to the last segment to get the TLDR version of the video. Well, if I'm putting it simply, Bassem still seems like he's taking advantage of the good faith of his interviewees and then selectively editing the segments to craft the narrative. The gun owner in this video walks a really odd line between making me think he's a legitimate hardline bigot, but then sometimes making me think that he's just managed to near perfectly monetize the act of trolling liberals. And as far as this entire video goes, it's all really done for me is make me hungry. And make me wonder what bacon brownies would taste like. If anyone's had bacon brownies, leave a comment and let me know if there's something worth looking into further, would ya? Thanks, guys. Oh, cool update. One of the upcoming episodes of the Regressive Handbook will be a guest spot hosted by my new interwebs buddy, Otterface. Otter stepped up to the plate when I asked if anyone would be interested in guest hosting a spot for me, and as a YouTuber with a substantially larger channel than me, she decided she'd help me out, which gives this series a little boost, and I really appreciate her giving me a hand here. So if you're not already subscribed to her, head on over to her channel, links in the description, and subscribe. If nothing else, her accent is absolutely brilliant. Fucking love it. Love you, Otter. Thanks, eh? And with that said, I'd just like to thank everyone for watching, ask you to rate the video with an up or down vote, drop a comment down below, and hit the old subscribe button to keep updated whenever I publish a new video. Have a good one.